Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. I've got a book review for you today, so let's get to it. So I recently finished The Stone Sky, which is book 3 in the Broken Earth Trilogy, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. Before we get into it, make sure you do all this stuff on the bottom of the screen. That would make me really happy. And now that that's said, let's talk about this book. Now, if you have not read the series, or you've only read the first couple of books, not to worry, I'm not going to get into any spoilers here. But I will say that it wraps up the series beautifully. There were parts of the book where I was kind of struggling. I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of, parts of it weren't making sense to me. And this series has huge chunks that are written in a second-person omniscient writing style, which just basically means that you've got a narrator off to the side who is telling you everything that's happening. But it's like they're talking to someone else and telling them, and it's kind of a strange format, and it can be jarring as you're reading the books, but it has a purpose. And when I finally started to get toward the end of the book, I'm like, oh, so this is why we've been in the second person this whole time. And I've heard that some of her other books she does that second person in as well. So it's not just this series, but I'm sure she has intentions behind doing it in the other series as well. So in this series, now that I've finished it, I know exactly why she wrote it the way that she did. And it has a very, very clear purpose, and it finished fantastically. The character development for the characters that she makes you care about is phenomenal. It wraps up really solidly. Some of my favorite characters, of course, are Essen and Nassin as well. And I won't go into too much detail because you'll have spoilers if I do. But just some really great character work. Shaffa, who was kind of a antagonist at the beginning of this series, still kind of is, but you find out why, and she really makes you feel for Shaffa and love him. And I was just blown away by some of the characters in this story. There's these creatures called the Stone Eaters who, like their name implies, eat stone. But it's implied earlier on in the series that they used to be some form of human before they became Stone Eaters, and you get a lot of background on the Stone Eaters in this book, and you have all of your questions answered. And that's hard to find in a lot of series. A lot of series, I've gotten to the final book and you're just kind of left with more questions, and I didn't have any other questions at the end of this book. I was completely satisfied with the answers that she gave. I was just really, really enjoying this series. The only drawback that I can see to this series is that second person narration at times. It is and continues to be throughout the series a little bit jarring. So, but the third book wrapped up really beautifully. There was a lot of action in this book, and there were also some slow times as well, but they didn't feel super slow. You didn't have that just kind of dragging feeling during parts of the book where you're like, okay, when is this going to pick up? You saw where everything was going, and how it was leading up to a climax, and you knew exactly what the climax was going to be, or at least what the attempted climax was going to be, because they already talked about it in book 2, The Obelisk Gate. So there's a very clear goal, a very clear purpose, and what they are setting out to do to right the wrongs that have been done in this world. And it's a bittersweet ending, although I would say it's more of a happy ending than an unhappy ending. But it is bittersweet. There's characters that you've really grown attached to through the series that you may wish things had turned out differently for. I'll just put it that way. But all in all, I can't say enough good about this book. You know, I won't lie, there were times where I was like, oh man, I hope this isn't going to just be a flop. There were parts of it where I didn't quite know where it was going, but as it progressed and all the doors started opening and you're able to see, oh, okay, so that's where this is going, it made more sense. So, if you are watching this and you have not read the Broken Earth Trilogy at all, you are in for a treat. You really need to read it. If you've only read the first book and you're not quite sure you want to continue the series, I would highly recommend that you stick with it and see where it goes from there. I actually really liked the first book. It really had me guessing a lot of times, and the twists as it got closer to the end of the book I was not expecting, and I like books like that. So, but if you didn't like the first book that much, give it a try with the second book and see what you think. If you don't like it, maybe it's just not your cup of tea, but I think it's well worth reading the entire series, and it's so different and unique. I've never read a series like the Broken Earth Trilogy, and I'm looking forward to reading more from N.K. Jemisin as a result of this. So let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to get your thoughts, and don't forget to stay tuned for my BookTube anniversary coming up soon. I did a poll over on Twitter, and it seems like a lot of people want me to do a live stream for my BookTube anniversary. So I believe that is what I'm going to do. But I have collected questions from many of you, and I will answer those questions on the live stream, as well as take other questions from the live stream audience. So stay tuned for that. I'll be talking more about that and sharing more about that. It's just 2 weeks away, folks, so stay tuned for that, and I'll be posting about it on my socials as well. So you can find all the links to check me out in the description below. And I think that about does it for this video, guys. Just a quick wrap up on the Stone Sky to let you know where I was at and what my thoughts were. And I hope you have an amazing Tuesday. Make sure that you are reading more books. Talk to you soon. Bye.